Good afternoon and welcome to our Dementia in Real Life webinar. My name is Jane Michelli and I'm the Relationships Manager here at Your Side and the Community Circle Coordinator. And for today, I'll be your host. Thank you for joining this webinar. It will be a really special afternoon where we're going to hear from carers, consumers and experts on dementia. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to elders present, past and emerging. Okay, so for those of you that don't know about Your Side and all the fun things that we actually do, we are a leading provider of support services for older people living with a disability or mental illness, and we also support carers. We are an NDIS and aged care registered provider based in Sydney. We deliver Commonwealth Home Support Services for clients over 65. And we also deliver home care packages, which I'll go through in a little bit more detail. And bear with me, I'm trying to host and keep an eye on a few things at the same time, and I've got my lovely colleague Ilsa here to help me out as well. So like I said, we've got home care packages. We also do private fee for services. We've got Community Circle, and I'd like to welcome our Community Circle members that are here with us today. We are also funded to deliver the new Carer Gateway services for carer support, and we do NDIS services, National Disability Insurance Scheme. Just to give you a little bit of an idea about our home care packages, here at Your Side, we are absolutely not for profit. So what that means is that we make sure that we keep our fees to an absolute minimum so that we can provide maximum services. And I'm told by our home care package consultants that on the level 4, you can get almost up to about 17 hours a week. So yeah, so it's quite exciting, our model of care. Okay. So today we have a really great program in store for you. We will hear from our resident expert on dementia, Ilsa, as well as our home care package consultant, Amanda Bacic. We will also hear from Bobby Redman, who herself has a diagnosis of dementia. And I have in the room here with me, Ronald Cohen, who is a carer for his wife, who has, she has dementia and she also has Parkinson's disease. Now, I'm keen for this webinar to be a little bit interactive. So what we're going to do before we get started is have a little play with the functions. Now, this webinar is being recorded. So if you don't want to have your face or voice recorded, please interact with us using the chat function at the bottom of your screen. So you can ask us questions throughout. And when our presenters have finished, we will answer questions at the end. For those of you that don't mind being recorded, we'd like you to actually raise your hand, because what we can do is turn on your camera and microphone and you can actually ask us the question in person if you like, or you might have a comment you'd like to contribute to the group. So to do that, you just need to go to click on participants and you click on the 3 dots at the bottom and you should be able to raise your hand. Now, if I do have my colleague Emily online here. So Emily, can I pick on you? Can you click on participants and can you raise your hand for me so that I can check that it works? Oh, you're amazing. Excellent. And I think then once that's been done, we just click on allow to talk and Emily can come through if she wants, but I won't embarrass you now, Emily. We'll do that later. So, and then I'm just going to lower your hand and I think that's all done. Beautiful. All right, easy, straightforward, hopefully. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Ilsa, our resident expert in dementia. So I'm going to turn off my screen and she's going to have a turn of sharing hers. Ilsa, over to you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today, Jane. So as Jane said, my name is Ilsa Bird. I'm the Sector Support Coordinator at Your Side. I'm also the founder of the Northern Beaches Dementia Alliance and the chair and the project manager for the Dementia Friendly Northern Beaches project. So today I'm going to give you just a little brief introduction into dementia, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the differences between dementia and memory loss, which is associated with normal aging. So we're going to start off with a little true or false game, and it's a shame that I can't hear you all, but I'm going to flash up a poll question on the screen, And I want you to tell me if it's true or false. So all of the polls are anonymous, so you don't need to worry if you get something wrong. So this is the first question here. So dementia is just part of getting older. So tell me if you think that is true or if it is false. Okay, we've got a few respondents coming through. Most people, everybody is saying it is false. Very good. I'm going to give you about 3 more seconds to vote. The last people want to vote. Okay, wonderful. Okay, everybody said it is false, and that is correct. It is false. So dementia is not a normal part of aging. It's a neurodegenerative disorder, which means it causes progressive deterioration of the neurons. You should have the next poll in front of you, which is the term Alzheimer's and dementia mean the same thing. Is this true or false? 3 votes so far, 4, 5, 7. Just wait another couple of seconds. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so you can see from there the majority of people said that's false. And let's have a look and see. False. So all of you who said that is correct. So the term dementia is a term which actually incorporates hundreds of different neurodegenerative disorders. And as you can see from this little umbrella here, I've got an umbrella because dementia is known as an umbrella term. So it's a collective term for lots of different disorders. So you can see here that Alzheimer's disease accounts for about 50 to 75% of cases. So it is the most common, and that's why quite often it actually gets used interchangeably with the term dementia. But there are lots and lots of other different types of dementia, including vascular dementia, frontotemporal lobe dementia, Lewy body dementia, younger onset dementia, Parkinson's disease dementia, and many, many others. So the terms dementia and Alzheimer's don't actually mean the same thing. All right, let's look at the next question, which is dementia. Sorry. Just want to launch the next poll, which has launched the wrong one. Sorry, everyone. Number 3. Okay, so dementia causes the brain to get smaller. Is that true or false? I'm interested to see your answers on this one. Okay, we've got some people saying false, some people saying true. Got most people have voted. I'll just give it another couple of seconds. So does dementia cause the brain to get smaller, true or false? Got most people have voted. Okay, I'm going to end the polling there. Okay, so you can see here that the majority of you have said false, and there are some people who have said have said true. So let's have a look and see what the answer is. True. Because dementia actually causes deterioration in the brain, so the tissue and the neuron, the size of the brain can actually reduce by up to 140 grams, which is about the size of a small orange. Now, I didn't have a small orange. I do have a grapefruit, but it's way too big. So if you just think about a small orange, 140 grams, that's roughly the size that the brain deteriorates by. Okay, next question. Question number 4, last one. If you start to forget things, it means you are getting dementia. What do you all think about that one? Got a couple of people who've answered so far. Everyone so far said false. Is there anyone who thinks it's true? If you start to forget things, it means you're getting dementia. What do we all think of that one? Okay, another couple of seconds just to let the last people vote. Do you think it's true or false? Okay, let's have a look and see what we all said. Everybody said it is false. And you would all be correct. So even though we know that memory loss is associated with dementia, but there's also a whole lot of other symptoms. So it might also be associated with the normal aging process as well. So here we can see, Here we can see some of the other symptoms that are associated with dementia, including slowed thought processing, personality changes, confusion, memory decline, of course, communication difficulties, decline in physical function, vision changes, and reduced reasoning ability. Now, each of these symptoms are also going to be different for the different types of dementia. So just because you're experiencing memory loss, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is associated with dementia. Which brings me to my next topic. So now we're going to look at what the difference is between dementia and memory problems, dementia and memory problems that are actually associated with normal aging. Just before we get back into this table, I'd like to point out as well that dementia impacts every individual person very, very differently and very uniquely. So the statements that I have on here in terms of a person living with dementia are very much a generalized example and may not apply to every person experiencing dementia at every single stage or each different type of dementia as well. These are just general examples. So on here, I've got some statements related to memory and memory function, which are relevant to natural aging as part of just an older person getting older or a person living with dementia. So someone who's aging naturally may sometimes forget names, whereas a person who is living with dementia might actually forget the names of close friends and family that they know very, very well. A person who's aging might occasionally forget facts or dates, whereas someone living with dementia might repetitively ask for information over and over. An aging person might misplace objects such as wallet, keys. I mean, I do that all the time. Whereas a person living with dementia might actually place objects in unusual places, so places where they don't belong. An older person might have memories of events that are a little bit vague or might not remember all parts of it, whereas a person with dementia may forget all or a whole part of an event. An older person might occasionally have trouble finding the right word, whereas someone living with dementia will be frequently unable to find the right word and will progressively use the incorrect words for something. So if they're trying to say the word spoon, they might use the word fork instead. An older person would be able to follow written or verbal directions, whereas someone living with dementia will be progressively unable to follow. So as their symptoms and their dementia progresses, they won't be able to follow verbal or written instructions. An older person will require increased concentration to follow a conversation, whereas someone living with dementia might actually have trouble joining or following with a conversation. An older person might have trouble keeping track of the day of the week, whereas someone living with dementia might not be able to keep track of the date, the time, or even the season that they're in. And finally, an older person might go into a room and maybe forget what they came in there for, whereas a person living with dementia may get lost or confused even in a familiar place. So for example, in their own home that they've lived for a long time. So that's pretty much all from me. I would like to say that if you do have any concerns about memory problems, it's really important that you go to your GP first. Otherwise, you can also contact Dementia Australia. They have a phone line that you can call, which is 1800 100 500, and I'll type this number into the chat later on, so if you do need it for future use. But otherwise, thank you for listening. I apologise for the interruption in between, and I believe there'll be some time for questions a little later on. So thank you for listening. I hope you learned something.
Thanks, Ilsa. Amazing presentation as usual. So I'm now going to throw over to Bobby. I'm going to ask her, oh, sorry, no, I'm up to Amanda now. Sorry, I'm confusing everything. It's all happening here at your side this afternoon. Oh my goodness. I'm going to throw over to Amanda Bacic, who's actually going to have a quick chat to us about home care packages and dementia supplements and things like that. So Amanda, I'll get you to turn your camera and microphone on, and if you can share your screen with your presentation. Thank you.
So as lovely Jane said, I'm Amanda Bacic and I'm one of the home care package consultants at Your Side. So there's just two things I'd like to chat to you about today. And the first one I wanted to chat to you about is a Dementia and Cognition supplement. So this supplement is actually additionally on top of your home care package that you can receive. And this is anywhere from, on a level 1 package, you can get $2.81 a day on top of your package, which equates to about an extra $1,000 a year. And even up to a level 4, it becomes $16.32 a day, which is just under $6,000 a year. And this can be used exactly like your home care package. It's for anything that helps you stay at home and keeps you healthy. Now, for you to get this supplement or your loved one, your service provider would usually call up a clinical nurse and they would come to your home and do either 2 assessments. Now, if a PAS assessment, that's for someone who English is their first language. And this assessment would usually take about 45 minutes in your home, and it would usually also have the carer there or even on loudspeaker. Or if that's not appropriate, then the nurse would call the carer after just to answer any questions that the other person can't. And once you get the score needs to be 10 or more for you to be eligible for the Dementia and Cognition supplement. If English is your second language, then the nurse would do a RUDAS assessment and the score would be 22 or less. Now, the day that the assessment is actually finished is the day that you are eligible for the supplement. So your service provider would send over that assessment to send over that assessment to Medicare to get it arranged, and you would get that assessment straight away. There is no approval or decline. As long as you've got that score, then you are eligible for their supplement. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was what you can use your package for. Now, I found a lot of my clients who come from different providers are just a little bit unfamiliar with the additional things that they can utilize their package for and their additional supplements. I know there is the basic, having a care worker doing domestic assistance or personal care or social aspect of taking you out, but there are extra things you can use the package for. Things like a fall detect dependent alarm. So that's something like Vital Call, which comes to your home, and you could get a fall detect dependent alarm, which would be either on your neck or on your wrist, and at least your loved one, if they leave or if you live at home alone, if you know you have a fall, then it does get detected and an ambulance gets a call straight away to assist you. So it is a really good peace of mind, and it's only about $200 and then $43 monthly. All allied health services can be utilised with your package. So things like physiotherapy, chiropractor, podiatry. Even if you can't get to a hairdresser, an in-home hairdresser can come and do your hair as well. And even remedial massage, a lot of my clients really enjoy that. Other things as well is art therapy as well. So that is actually a great tool to use if someone is feeling a bit isolated at home and they don't have their creative aspect. It is really, really helpful and beneficial. Other things with your package is home modification. So, your package is really for anything that helps you stay at home and keeps you healthy. So anything in your home that's danger to you that needs to be modified, that package can be used for. So railings, light fittings, even bathroom modifications if needed. And also mobility equipment. So such as walkers, wheelchairs, walking sticks, even shower chairs or anything like that. Even if you've got a stairs in your family home and you need one of the lift chairs going up, that can also be a part of your package. Also, on top of that are things like hospital beds and your shower chairs as well. So any beds as well that you can lift up or lift down to help you get out, or even recliner chairs that are automatic as well. Social support group outings. So some people might have been used to going to social groups on your Commonwealth Health Support Program. You can also access these groups. It would just be a full charge to your package. And even with the care worker, they don't just have to sit and give respite at home or have a cup of coffee. You know, they can take you out to things that you enjoy doing, like the movies, museum, even the zoo, anything like that that you would like to still do and have fun. A care worker can provide and take you out there. Also things like white goods. So, you know, even an iPad or an iPhone that keeps you connected to your family, you can utilize that at a certain amount per year. And an exercise bike or an air purifier, even getting your air conditioner fixed. You know, if it's unsafe in your home, if you obviously can't breathe or it's too hot, then that impacts your health and you can utilize your package for that. And anything you've got unsure about, it doesn't hurt to just ask your service provider as well if they can assist you with things like that. Another last thing I just wanted to talk about is it's great having a package, but sometimes obviously it does get exhausted. So if you are a carer needing additional support or respite around the home and your home care package is exhausted, or for example, your service provider doesn't have a care worker and you may need to go somewhere for a few days, you can access Carers Gateway. So ourselves and Benevolent Society do have government funding and we arrange those services. And it's as simple as calling the 1-800-422-737. So there is additional respite emergency funding for carers to help their loved ones. And you can even access things like counselling and things that also help you as well, so you don't have the carer strain. And that was a bit it for me, so thank you everyone.
Fantastic. Thanks, Amanda. Beautiful. So I'll just get you to stop sharing your screen.
A good idea.
Here we go. Well done. I think I'm going to stick to social work and not start a career in IT. It's not my strong suit, guys. I just wanted to mention actually that one of Amanda's clients during COVID actually got an exercise bike, because obviously during COVID, none of our clients were able to access any of their regular exercise programs. So yeah, it was a bit of a fun day here at your side, hearing some of our clients getting a bit creative with their package. So our next speaker is actually, I've got Ron here on my list, so I might throw straight to Ron, who, like I said, he's a carer for his wife who has dementia, and she also has Parkinson's disease. So I'm going to turn my laptop around, and it's, yeah, I'll hand over to Ron. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. I found out about 4.5 years ago that my wife was doing things that were unusual to her. And this slowly developed into Parkinson's, and from Parkinson's she developed one of the dementias. In her case, they think it's the Lewy bodies. Being a carer for somebody that is slowly progressing badly is not easy. You have to use all sorts of different types of hard to say what I wanted to say then. But it's difficult in a way is that you don't understand what's actually happening. Nobody tells you when things are going wrong, but you do notice it, and eventually you end up there at your GP, and from the GP you end up there with a neurologist, and they tell you that she's got Parkinson's, and that it's not going to be fixed. So you have to make other arrangements for your life ahead. The thing that I found, I suppose, more upsetting than anything else is that she tries hard to remember, but it doesn't quite work. And eventually she got to the stage where she's now in hospital. She had a fall. She had a number of falls that were easy to handle because I could lift her up. Then it got to the stage where she had a fall in the bathroom, which I felt I had to call in the emergency, and she had 2 cracked ribs. The last fall she had was just 10 days ago, where she actually fell down a flight of stairs. We had gone out for a walk, we'd come back, and she was standing just outside the front door. I had to make a quick phone call because the people that we were with on the walk had actually gone, but had left something behind. I turned around, dialed the number. I heard a massive bang on something. I heard a scream, turned around, she's fallen down a flight of stairs, cracked 3 ribs, and had a compression on her spine. She's been in hospital now, and nobody can tell me anything about it, whether she's going to get better, she's not going to get better. There is an awful lot involved in looking after somebody. I did find that with your side, and I'm not saying this for any other reason except that it's true, was the only company that I came across that did any help for us. We found out about the different service providers, never heard of them before, there was no reason for it. And then nobody would do anything. We haven't got the finances. You can't do it. You have to get onto aged care, talk to them. Aged care says, well, you're going to, we can't do anything about it until we send somebody out for an assessment. We got an assessment, and they assessed her as a level 2. So again, we went around trying to find people to get some help. We wanted to keep her home. I didn't want to put her in a home. And she didn't want to go one. And the only company that I came across that helped me was your side. And we managed to get some help there at home as far as care, as some people coming in as carers, which gave me a bit of a break to go out shopping, get a haircut, do something. It's very, very difficult for a carer in the way that you are sort of, to put it in a way, landlocked. You can't go out and leave the patient or your wife or your husband or whoever. So you have to stay at home until somebody can come and look after them to allow you to go out. Anyway, I found, and I'm not sort of knocking the system much, but maybe I am. They give you a level 2, they give you money for a level 1, which is nothing. Believe me, nothing. And I refused it because I'd been paying for everything else on my own before that. And when I worked it all out, I was actually paying about 4 times to get a package of this level 1 or 2 package. No, it was a level 1 package at the time. It was about 4 times, I was paying, would have been paying 4 times more than what I was by paying for it myself. So I knocked that back, asked for another assessment, and this is now with the help of your side, getting suggestions from them. And what was I going to say there? It's gone. Sorry about that. But to bring it down to a more later date now, is that she then has now been assessed as a level 4. And they told us that, and oh, sorry, not told us, we actually got a level 2. Doesn't help. by the time you get to a level 4, the costs are starting to get big. Before all this, I had to buy a commode, I had to buy a chair, a bathroom chair, a shower chair, rather. I had to do all sorts of things like that. And although it didn't bother me, the actual spending of it, but the thing was that there was this government that which turned around and said that they got all this money which they're going to give, and they were cutting it down. The other thing,
That's okay.
yeah, and the other thing I found out was that we would go to the neurologist, and I hate knocking doctors, but in this case, I won't mention any names here. I went to the neurologist, and all that they could tell you was, or the way that they did the actual consultation was, how are you feeling? Stand up, walk a little bit, come back, sit down. We could give you more medication, but there are side effects. So you take more medication. What happens? She starts seeing things, bad things. And then it got to the stage where everything in the house she was suspicious of, to the extent that she wouldn't stay in the house at one point, and we had to creep out of the house so that we didn't disturb the people that were in the house. These people didn't exist, by the way.
Take your time.
Oh, it's just remembrance.
Okay, guys, we're just going to give Ron just a few minutes to just catch his breath, but it's a bit real, isn't it? So I hope everyone's got tissues handy as well, because this is dementia in real life. This is not to frighten anyone. This is just to talk about this is what happens. This is dementia. So what I'll do is I'll throw to Bobby, if you want to turn your camera and your microphone on. And Bobby tells me this is sort of Zoom meeting number sort of 200 for the day, bless her. So thank you so much, Bobby, for your time this afternoon. And yeah, without further ado, Bobby Redman, everyone.
Thanks very much, Jane. Hello, everyone. It's a bit strange because you can see me, but I can't see you. So I look as if I'm talking to myself, but that's not unusual nowadays. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and also why I think it's really important for those of us living with dementia to stay active, to stay involved in our community, because it helps to keep us going. So hopefully this is a brighter side of things of dementia, and I'll tell you the pretty story. So up until my retirement in 2014, I was a psychologist. I used to work with people with an intellectual disability, and my job was to help them develop skills and to live a meaningful life. So we'd look at, we'd assess people and work out what they liked doing and what they could do and what they couldn't do and what they wanted to do, and build a plan around that to help them function better. And when they struggled to do something, we would put a plan together on how to help them develop that skill. And that's come in really useful for me, because now I just practice what I used to preach, and can actually put stuff in place for myself and put my own programs in place. So everything happens for a reason. Around the end of 2015, I sought some medical advice. I'd been struggling, and I think probably my last year at work was when I noticed that things weren't going too well. I started to struggle to keep on top of my work, and I was supervising a number of intern psychologists, and that was probably the hardest bit for me, because I could remember my own clients, I'd remember their stories, and when they came to talk to me, I could hold on to their stories, but I couldn't remember the stories from my interns' clients. So I started getting a bit confused about their stuff and who people were and whatever. I thought I was just getting old and, you know, normal aging stuff, not keeping up with things, and decided it was time to retire. I thought I was probably overdoing it a bit. But the year after my retirement, things kind of got more difficult. I started struggling with things at home, just doing the everyday things that we do at home. I live alone, so I'm looking after myself. I don't have a carer, which, although is hard sometimes, also has its benefits, because if something's going to get done, I have to do it. I haven't got anybody else to do it for me. So basically, I just get on and do my thing. So, but I was starting to experience some language issues. I can still talk, although sometimes I lose words, but for me, it's more incoming information. I have trouble following conversations and understanding what people are saying. So it is language, but in a different way. My mood and behavior has changed. I've always been fairly easy flow. Now I get more irritable and angry. My friends started to notice a change in me. People that have known me for a long time said, "Oh, come on, you know what's going on? You're really different. You're not the Bobby we know." And it was when they started saying that, and I put it together with the other stuff, that I thought, yeah, I need to get this checked out. So I saw my GP, who ran some tests, and nothing was showing up really in the blood tests and the brain scan. But I kind of said, look, I think I need to see a neurologist. And so I did, and they ran some extensive testing and said, look, you know, you're functioning well, but we can see that something's happening. When what you're describing to us would say, yeah, there's a problem. Come back in 12 months, sooner if you're concerned. But they took some measures of where I was at, and I went back in 12 months, and they said, yeah, it appears that you have mild cognitive impairment, as they call it, early stage dementia, but there is some deterioration from last year. So it's definitely a dementia, probably frontal temporal dementia. And as Ron was saying, the neurologists, they don't have all the answers. It's not something that dementia, particularly the non-typical type, Alzheimer type dementias, are more difficult to diagnose for them. They can do it in an autopsy, but I'm not ready for that yet. So they're going to have to hang off before they can double check what's happening with me. But yeah, so at this stage, they're saying most likely frontal temporal dementia. So, you know, you get that diagnosis and they tell you there's not much they can do. In fact, there's nothing they can do. And to kind of get everything in order. And you go home and you feel sorry for yourself, which is kind of, I guess, a natural response. You go into a grieving process. And, you know, being an allied health worker, of course, my reaction was to research everything. So I read everything under the sun, Dr. Google, kept Dr. Google busy for a while and scared myself to death reading all the stuff that was going to happen to me. And then thought, okay, well, you know, I've got two options here. I can sit here and feel sorry for myself and say, you know, there's nothing can be done, so I won't do anything. Or I can just make the best of every single day, because who knows what's around the corner for any of us. And so that being my philosophy in life, I decided that, yep, I was going to deal with it and I was going to live as full a life as I possibly could for as long as I could. So one of the things, as many of you will know, the problem is that there's such a stigma to dementia. People don't talk about it. It's like mental health was Many years ago, 10 years, 20 years ago, nobody would talk about mental health, but now people talk about depression, anxiety quite easily. It's just, everybody talks about it, everybody knows about it, but nobody talks about having dementia. They joke about having dementia sometimes. When people forget things, the automatic thing is, oh my goodness, I must have dementia. But they're playing, they're not, it's almost one of those things that people fear, and so they joke about it. The thing about dementia is, you're losing part of yourself, you're losing your identity. So that's really scary for people. And so people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to think about it. But the problem with that is, if nobody talks about it, then we don't get to understand it any better. And we're not going to find, how to make things work for people. So it's really important that some of us are prepared to actually go out and say, well, I do have dementia, but look at me, I can still do things. And so that's what I do. I don't hide away, and with my deep, dark secret, I go out and I talk about it. And it's not about getting sympathy, because I'm not looking for sympathy. I lead a good life. I lead a better life than a lot of people without dementia. So I tell people about what it's like. And I hope I'm helping to make, I live on the Central Coast, so I help to make the Central Coast a more dementia-friendly place to live. So I've been doing this advocacy work now for the past 4 years. So I've done lots and lots of study on it. And I've got lots of jobs that are attached to it. So I've now got I think I just muted myself accidentally. Sorry about that. So yes, I'm working with dementia and in dementia. So I sit on lots and lots of committees. I'm actually on the board of an organisation called Dementia Alliance International. And that's an organisation that's run for people. It's run by people with dementia, for people with dementia. So all our board members have dementia, all our volunteers have dementia, and we're all keeping ourselves very active and busy. Dementia Alliance International has representation on all the national dementia organisations around the world, and presents at all the major dementia conferences in the world, and sends representations to the World Health Organization and the UN. And we all have dementia, we're all out there doing it. I sit on the advisory committee for Dementia Australia. So our job, there are 9 of us at the moment on the committee, all living with dementia, and our job is to advise the board and the executive from the perspective of those living with dementia. So we represent the Australian community with dementia. At a local level up here on the Central Coast, I sit on the steering committee for our dementia-friendly community up here. And we have an advisory group that I chair, who are a group of people living with dementia and their carers that we bring together. We call ourselves the LDAGs, which sounds very fancy. LE being the lived experience and DAGs being the Dementia Advisory Group. So we thought it sounded both cheekily Australian with a bit of a French flair, because, we like to be a bit fancy. So we work with the dementia-friendly group up here, and are working towards making things better for everybody. I'm passionate about research, and I sit on several research advisory groups. I provide input into their work from the perspective of a person with dementia. I've been named as a co-researcher alongside academics in quite a few research projects now. Actually, that's quite funny, because all the time I was working as a psychologist, I was studying hard and writing all these papers, never got a gig at a conference anywhere. Now I've suddenly, as a person with dementia, my work's getting recognised. So I was obviously in the wrong career for many years. Last but not least, I'm a Rotarian, and I am the Rotary District Chair. So my title is Chairperson for Dementia Awareness and Support. and I've worked with other Rotary clubs, and we've opened several dementia cafes, and we've got some down in, not on the northern beaches, but down the North Shore, that are run by Rotarians on a voluntary basis. So as you can see, dementia has become my work, unpaid, but work nevertheless. And, you know, I still maintain a good balance with family and social life. I have lots of social activities. I get out with friends for meals. I'm actually off to the chocolate factory tomorrow. I've been very reserved during COVID and not gone anywhere, but this feels like a pretty safe outing for me. They're keeping the groups small, and we've all got to wear masks, and there's limited numbers, so I'm feeling quite safe. So I'm going to have a treat and go to the chocolate factory. But I have my grandsons. I look after my grandchildren some weekends, and I can still manage to do that. I get very tired, and sometimes it's a bit of an uphill battle, but the boys are good and will help me through the things. So they know that Nana struggles a bit nowadays, but they're there for me as well, which is great. So as you can see, you know, dementia isn't necessarily the end for us. Obviously, it's a progressive disorder, and down the track, there will be things that get harder for me to do, and, you know, things that I'm not going to be able to do anymore. So, which is why at this point in time, I'm determined to make every day count. I have no free days. I'm one of these people that has to fill every space, but I honestly believe that that is what's keeping me functioning so well. I don't think I would be able to function as well as I'm doing now if I didn't keep pushing myself all the time. It would be very easy for me to say, no, this is all too hard, but I'm not prepared to let that happen. Quick boast on the end, I'm really proud to have been nominated for Senior Australian of the Year for 2020. And that was for my dementia work. I was humbled to have been a New South Wales finalist. I didn't get through as the winner, but just to be nominated and to have been a finalist for New South Wales amongst some truly inspiring people was very, very rewarding for me, and I much appreciate it. So on that note, I'll just finish up and say life can be difficult, life can be challenging, but it can also be fun, it can be busy, it can be meaningful, and I should keep on talking as long as I can get the words out of my mouth. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Bobby. That was really wonderful. I like the LADAX. That's a brilliant acronym. So, and yeah, wonderfully Australian. So this is the interactive part of the afternoon. So I'm going to ask all my panelists to please turn their microphone and video back on. And I've got Ron here. Ron and I are getting, we're probably breaking a few COVID rules today, but that's okay.
I think we're both safe.
I think we're both safe. We've both had lots of COVID tests. I've got a toddler, and Ron's wife's been in and out of hospital. So what we'd like to do now is throw to our audience if anyone has any questions. Now, like I said earlier, and we did get cut off, we had a bit of technical difficulty earlier, and I'm sorry about that. You've got two choices. If you'd like to ask a question in person, you can raise your hand by clicking on the participant panel at the bottom. And in which case, I'm going to ask the lovely Ilsa to turn on your microphone and your video. It may work that only your microphone works or something. We'll see how we go. We might have more technical difficulties, but that's okay. We'll roll with it. But if you don't want to be recorded, just chuck your question into the Q&A at the bottom there. And then if no questions come through, I've got millions of them, and I'm sure my panel have probably lots of questions for each other as well. So yeah, so without further ado, if anyone that has been attending today has questions, if you want to chuck either throw your hand up or put something into the Q&A if you're interested.
Deborah's got her hand up.
Do you want to bring her forward? And
Sure.
say?
There we go. She should be
coming.
There she is.
Hi, Deborah. It looks like you're still on mute. Mute yourself.
Thank you for that. Sorry, I just realized I didn't actually comb my hair very well, but all good. Thank you so much for this very informative session today. It's the first time I've joined your sessions. My father and my mother are firm believers in all the good work that you do. So I just want to give you all accolades for the wonderful work. I have a question for Bobby, and I can honestly, for Bobby and for the other gentleman who spoke about his wife, you know, full praise to you for the situation that you find yourself in. When I listen to your story, Bobby, I'm wondering if there was ever a time when you went through a stage of denial. So you know how things, you start to notice things. Like, for example, I may feel, oh, I'm getting a cold, but you ignore it. And then when it happens, you actually don't want to accept it. So you go through a stage of denial. And it appears to me that where you are today and the work that you currently do is because you've actually accepted your situation. So my question to you is, you know, how does one help a loved one get to that point of acceptance? Because I feel that if you don't get there, you'll always be in denial. And then you can't be helped or supported or assisted.
And it's thanks for the question, Deborah. I think in the beginning, I would say that I was in denial. As I mentioned, when I was working, I first noticed that things weren't going right. And I guess initially it was lack of recognition, even with my being sort of in the profession of as a psychologist. I didn't, recognize that was what I was experiencing. It just felt to me, I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't put a finger on it. And then as things started to get worse, I think that was the denial period. I went through a stage where I thought, no, it's, I'm just imagining this. It's all in my mind. It was only really when my friends started saying to me, come on, what's going on? Something's wrong. You're not your usual self. You're quite different. It was, I argued with them as well. It was kind of, don't be ridiculous. No, but I kind of knew in my head then that there was definitely something there, but I still wouldn't have admitted it to anybody else. When I went to the doctor, it was really hard. And I think because her response to me was, after the tests, oh, well, perhaps it's nothing, perhaps it is just overwork. It was almost then that I had to say, okay, well, I could just go with this and say, yes, that's all it is. I'm overtired and not know what I'm doing, or acknowledge that there is a problem. And it was at that point for me that I felt that I had to do the right thing and say, okay, I want this checked because no, it's not right. I know it's not right. And I think people reach that stage at different times for different people. I think it depends on who you are and what your personality is and what sort of support you've got around you. I mean, I kind of know, because I'm alone, that if I don't, if I didn't know what was happening and didn't start putting stuff in place, then I would be in a bit of trouble because I've got nobody else to do it for me. I'd got no fallback for it, really. So it was kind of, recognize it, move on and get onto the stage where I can start to take care of myself. Otherwise, I can't. But for other people, it's not necessarily the same.
Yeah, and I think that's the part for people that support family members in that situation. You almost need to have it acknowledged, because that's the point of where you can move forward from. So yes. Thank you so much for your response.
Take care. Just be aware of the stigma around. People do feel ashamed. You do feel ashamed. You feel as if there's something amiss with you. So, yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks for being brave and putting your hand up. We've
Good
had
on you.
quite a few questions come through our Q&A. So, Bobby, one of the questions, did the medication help you?
I don't have medication. There's no medication for frontal temporal dementia, unfortunately. The medication that they use for mostly Alzheimer's, I'm surprised that Ron's wife is having medication with Lewy bodies, because from what I understand, most of the medications out there are designed to help the clarity and help break down the amyloid proteins in the brain for Alzheimer's. But we have, I'm not sure about Lewy bodies, but for frontal temporal, we have a different type of protein in our brain. And in actual fact, the medication for Alzheimer's makes us worse. So they don't give us any medication. I take a lot of supplements. I've always been into alternative health stuff, so I take a lot of food supplements that the doctors don't necessarily know anything about or approve of, but you know, the way I see it, you can't lose. Basically, if it helps a bit, it helps a bit. So, and whether it's having a placebo effect or not, as I say to my GP, I'm feeling okay on it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's working.
I like that. And I want to be clear, we'll talk about Ron's wife's medication, I think. Is that, yeah.
She's on medication actually for the Parkinson's rather than for the...
That would explain it.
Yeah. My complaint to the neurologist was all that it's doing is stopping the shaking, stopping the stiffness, but it's doing nothing for the brain.
No, there's nothing.
There is nothing.
There is nothing.
Unfortunately.
As I say, there's some Aricept, I think it's called. The most popular one helps with Alzheimer's. It seems to help break down, although they're now arguing that, you know, it's not the way forward. They're looking for alternatives. The original thing was, some people find that this does help and helps the forgetfulness and helps the clarity a little bit. But it can have an adverse effect on different types of dementia. So if it's not a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, they won't give you this particular medication, which is fair enough.
Because what happened was, as I said before, I had to go away for a moment. They put her onto medication, said that they can't do much about it, but they could make the medication stronger. I said at that time, she doesn't want to take any more tablets. So they said, fine, we'll put you on a patch. So right, they put her on a patch. And it slowly got worse and worse and worse. To the extent that I didn't quite finish off what I was going to say before. She would not stay at home. And I had my daughter at 11 o'clock at night. And we had to sneak out of the house because the people were trying to trap her.
Yeah, so the medication is controversial. I mean, I'm certainly not clinical. My background is I'm a social worker, but I do recall from when I worked in the hospitals, they gave medication to very, very early stage people with dementia, and it was a very mixed bag of responses. So yeah, but I think Bobby and Ron, you've both done the right thing speaking to neurologists, because I think it's really trying to just at least try and get the right expert in the room, but it's not always, you know, the best outcome. We've got a question here from Fiona. This might be a good one for you, Amanda. My mum has Alzheimer's pre-COVID. She had a great social life and would visit her friends twice daily in the nursing home next door. Now she is lonely in her retirement unit. What are some activities she can enjoy on her own, or maybe with one carer for an hour? Given her dementia means she can't learn anything new. We've got her music player and a story dice game, but I need some other suggestions. Actually, I'll throw that out to the panel. So who wants to answer that one? Who's got some ideas for Fiona, for her mum? Anyone? It's a hard one,
Amanda.
isn't it?
Oh dear.
Ron, what are some activities you and your wife do?
Well, we go out for walks. We were going out for drives at one time, but then she suddenly started getting nauseous every time she got in the car and we went for a short drive, so we had to give that one away. We sat and talked. Now, this is where I differ from the so-called experts somewhere along the line, they all said if she starts having a bit of talking trouble and starts coming out with a lot of things there that are difficult to handle, change the subject. I tried that a few times, didn't work. So we sat down one day when she was more lucid and we spoke about her complaint. And we carried on with that all the time. And she knows exactly what's happened to her. And I think it's better that way, myself.
I'm with you, Ron.
You yourself with the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, and you've just confirmed it with saying what your wife says. I mean, I recognize everything that's going wrong. When I do something wrong and I can't do something, I know. And in the earlier stages, I kept thinking, well, you know, one day that's going to pass and I'm not going to notice. But the more I talk to people in later stage dementia and carers of people in later stage, I reckon we know all along. And when they say that we're talking gibberish, we may not be able to express what we're trying to say, but I think we're trying to say something. And if we're trying to tell you something and you're trying to distract us, that would make me really angry. And I think, you know, people talk about responses, behavioral responses, and people, you know, getting violent or aggressive or physical. I think, you know, the anger is because we're trying to tell you something and you're not understanding us. And think how frustrating that would be if you were constantly talking to a brick wall where people kept shutting us down and trying to distract us when we know what we're trying to tell you.
Sorry. I mean, sorry, carry on, sorry. She has turned around and said, do you think I am stupid with some of these things?
Yeah.
So I think you're completely right there.
Yeah, scarily so. It would be, I tell you what, for me, I think I'd rather not know. It would, you know, I kept wishing for oblivion really at points, but because it's a double-edged sword knowing, because you can put your interventions in place, but knowing what's there and the pathway is scary. And I kept thinking, well, you know, one day I'll not know and it'll be okay. But I don't think it goes away. I think you always know. And so now I think that I have to make sure that I let other people know that, because if that is the case, people have got to know that's the case and not keep trying to shut us up. But in answer to the lady who asked about what she could do with her mum, what did your mum like doing before? What did you used to do? You know, because we don't know your mum, so it's hard for me to say, yes, I'd be quite happy if you give me a computer to play with. But that's probably not everybody. But your mum would have liked doing something and you'd know her better than anybody else. So what you really need to do is do with your mum what she likes doing, and give her things to do that she would enjoy. Memory books are lovely. So if you've got pictures that are going to be stories for her to remember, it depends whether she can talk, she might talk to them, but otherwise other people can talk about the pictures and remind her of things and memories. We all love to remember happy days. So, you know, look at some happy stuff, and music's really important, especially when we use our we lose our language. So play us music that we like, not music that you think we like. So work out what we do like and play us our music. And you know, if there are games that your mum enjoyed, play games. She can maybe play games alone if you're not in with her, things that she can do. Maybe you know, there's all sorts of things depending on her preferences. But if she's in a residential care service. Hopefully there'll be some volunteers there that can spend time with her when you're not there and do some of these activities with her when you're not able to get to her. So I don't know whether that's helpful, but they're my suggestions.
And Fiona just added a comment that she's just after some things to do when she's not there. She can't use any device. But Fiona, as you said, that she's getting an art therapist to try out. She doesn't talk much now, but she used to chat a lot, I suspect. So yeah, the photo books are a really great project to do for the family, and it's a really nice therapeutic way of building some family stories together as well. So that if you're not there, the care worker can read out the stories to your mum. It's a little bit of time, obviously, but and then there was another suggestion here from Kate, maybe doing some arts and crafts, which you'd certainly do with an art therapist. So we have an art therapy person that we contract here at your side, and I know that they're amazing. They come up with the most unbelievable ideas with things. So yeah, Fiona, drop into the community circle group and tell me how you guys go with that. I'd really love to know, because it's great to just keep learning these things so that we can pass them on to clients and give each other lots of ideas, because really it's what it comes down to, is helping each other out as much as possible. Now, Jerry's popped a hand up. How about we go to Jerry before we answer the next question, which will be for you, Amanda, about the Dementia and Cognition Supplement. So, Ilse, do you mind just turning on Jerry's camera? Yep.
She's on her way.
Yeah. Lots of questions coming through, guys. We love it. Thank you. So no video, there may not be video. Jerry, are you able to unmute yourself?
Hi, sorry, it's me. I was really interested with what Bobby had to say. She sounds like she's got her head screwed on the right way around, and I don't get it how someone like her has got dementia. I don't know if she has hallucination and things like that, but I want to hang out with her. She's got her head screwed on the right way around. At the moment, I'm not enjoying my life. I'm very forgetful. I forget names. I don't know whether because I'm so overly stressed. I am under a lot of stress. I'm a carer, and I'm sort of at the stage pretty burnt out. I'm in exertion, and I isolate. So I also started to clutter. I don't know if that's a sign of dementia, but I'm not really enjoying all the things that I used to do. I don't know whether that's loss of motivation or dementia. I'm pretty confused. I don't like reading about dementia. I learn more by listening. That's all I have to say.
I mean, as as life goes on, and if you're a very stressed carer, depression and Bobby can speak to this probably more than I can, being a psychologist. Depression can sometimes create a little bit of memory loss because it's fatigue on the brain and fatigue on the emotions. But yeah, it sounds like you certainly are in a space where you need some support and perhaps someone to talk to. Through the Carer Gateway, you can get some free counselling sessions. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but that might be something to look into as well. Bobby, did you want to comment on sort of what she spoke about?
Look, Jerry, there's a really strong association between dementia and depression, and that a lot of doctors have trouble differentiating between the two because the symptoms end up being the same. You kind of lose motivation, and you get confused, and you have memory issues. So if you are really, if you're worn out, if you're caring for someone and you're not taking care of yourself, the first thing you need to do is start taking care of yourself, because if you're not well and you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of other people. Like they say on the airplane, if the oxygen mask come down, put your own on first. So yeah, take care of yourself. The not looking like you have dementia is another double-edged sword. People say that all the time. You don't look as if you have dementia. I'm not quite sure how I should look, but I tell you, if you were in my shoes, you'd know it. But it's, yeah, look after yourself, get yourself well, but talk to your doctor if you're worried. If you think there's a problem, have a chat, and maybe they can, check you out and work out what is going on for you and put your mind at rest if it's worrying you and you think that it's dementia, and it may well not be. So, check it out and put your mind at rest. That's all I can say.
Thanks, Jerry, for putting yourself forward. That was lovely. We actually, while we're on the topic of maybe diagnosis, I might throw to Ilsa. There's a question here from Melissa about her mother who's 79 years old, and she has dementia, but when unable to get a clear diagnosis. How do we get a specific, I just need to scroll down, specific diagnosis of the geriatrician and neurologist can be specific?
Oh, Bobby, I think you'll probably agree with me here. Look, a specific diagnosis is really, really difficult, and particularly in early stages as well. There are some symptoms, or what we would say are signs, I suppose, that we actually can't see unless we open up the brain. So they're not going to go and do that. So, look, I'm sorry, I really don't have an answer for you because it's a difficult thing to do. As the dementia progresses, there can be some signs and symptoms that are more associated with particular types of dementia. So, for example, like the hallucinations, that's more associated with Lewy body dementia. Some mood disturbances or altered behaviour is more associated with frontal temporal lobe dementia. So sometimes some of the signs and symptoms can point you in the right direction once there's a progression. But as I said, getting a specific diagnosis can be really, really difficult. So I would just say you just have to stick with it, keep an eye on the person, do research about the different types of dementia and some of the signs and symptoms so that you can recognise if you see any of them that come up. But I don't know, Bobby, do you have anything to add to that? I don't think there's really much else to say.
No, what you said, Ilsa, is quite right. It's really hard to diagnose. And my diagnosis, I mean, they know that I have a type of dementia because they've measured it over a period of time, and I am losing capacity, I'm losing skills. But they say frontal temporal because my friends noticed the change. I don't have hallucinations, so they know it's unlikely to be Lewy bodies. My memory is reasonable, so they know that it's less likely to be Alzheimer's, although the memory stuff slips in and out. So there's a lot of mixed dementia out there, and I guess I can add that to what you're saying, Ilsa, that you start off with one type, but as it sort of moves in the brain, you can actually develop different types.
Yes.
So very often somebody may start off with frontal temporal, and then the Alzheimer's starts to overwhelm that, and it becomes primarily Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's and vascular dementia are the most common. And generally, the Alzheimer's is pretty easy to pick up because the memory thing is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Vascular is usually associated with other heart conditions or circulatory circulatory system things. So things like stroke. So the others, I mean, there are about 101 different causes that lead to dementia. So it can be so many, and generally a mixture. It's not very often clear cut on one thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. That's the other thing that I would have said, I suppose, is that dementia can be very comorbid. So even, if the memory loss may not actually be associated with the type of dementia, it could be associated with depression or anxiety or mental illness or something completely different. But the person still does have a type of dementia. So unfortunately, it gets a little bit complicated, but there are a few general rules, I suppose, that, memory loss, if you see that as one of the first symptoms, that can generally point towards Alzheimer's. As I said, hallucinations, auditory hallucinations can be associated with Lewy body. More behaviour and mood is associated with frontotemporal. And if there's a history of vascular symptoms, so stroke, that's more likely to be associated with vascular dementia. But in saying that, there's no golden rule. Every dementia affects everybody in such a different way because our brain is very, very unique, and we've all lived very different lives and looked after ourselves in different ways. So I hope that's half answered your question, but I apologise.
No, I think that, yeah, and I'm a social worker, like I said, and I'm a bit of a troublemaker when it comes to doctors. So if you're seeing doctors you're not happy with, see other ones. Get third opinions if you really feel like you're not being heard in the process. But this actually is a lovely segue to our question about the Dementia Supplement, because Amanda, can you tell me, do they need to have a diagnosis of dementia to be eligible for the supplement, or is it simply on the PAS score and the RUDAS score? And then the question is actually, how do they get to the point? So I think they're asking, do they need an assessment through My Aged Care to get a home care package, etc.? So can you talk us through that, please?
Yeah, definitely. So it is getting assessed with a home care package. So it's calling My Aged Care, and initially for you to get assessed, you'll most likely get Commonwealth Health Support Programs, which are separate services to help you with certain things around the home. But with the Dementia and Cognition Supplement, that's for when you do receive your home care package. So it's when you've already got a level 1, 2, 3, 4 home care package. The nurse can come to your home and do either the PAS or the RUDAS assessment. So you don't have to have a doctor's note saying you have dementia or something, or Alzheimer's or anything. It's just based on that assessment that the nurse does. So if you do get a certain score, it's as simple as the service provider filling out the Medicare form, sending off that assessment and sending it off, and then you would get the additional funding on top of your package.
Thanks, Amanda. So Anne-Marie Maitland, would you like me to turn on your camera? I'm not clear on that. Do you want to just do a quick yes or no in the comments? We can turn on your camera. Did you want to? I think Anne-Marie is it. Yep, putting your hand up. Beautiful. We'll turn you on. I think Anne-Marie, is she one of you're our super carer? I think we're on social media. There she is. Just coming through now.
Just unmute yourself, Anne-Marie.
The host has asked you to start your video, so you say okay.
Yeah. Oh, there you are.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for a great presentation, and Bobby, thank you so much too. And Ilsa, and Ron. And I feel for you, Ron, because I'm in a similar position. And my husband was diagnosed in 2006 with vascular dementia. Prior to that, he was working and he kept forgetting and writing everything down and rushing home, looking home for his mobile and stuff like that. We knew something was going on. Anyhow, many things happened that really raised the alarm bell. So we went to see a gerontologist, a young guy, an Indian guy, sorry to say that. And he listened to the stories and he said, he really went off his brain at him. And he said, do you want to kill somebody? And, you lose your house and blah, 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 blah. Your life is finished as you know it. Go home and write your will out and get your life in order. And that was what he said to him. I wanted to burst out crying, but my husband said, oh no, it's okay. And he had a triple bypass in 1994. So he did have trouble with his heart. The next day, he was fine. The next day, he started to cry. I'd never seen him cry before. He was going to die. This was it. This was the end. It was all a delayed reaction. Anyway, we took him to the GP and I got him up. First, I held him in my arms and I said, okay, die in my arms. That's all he wanted to do. And then I thought, this is not, real. So I got him up, showered him, and we went to the GP. And there was nothing wrong with his heart. It was just a delayed reaction from the shock of being told that, go home and make your will, Anyway, I had said to this gerontologist, I had planned to go overseas to visit my family. And he said, no, don't do that. You'll be taking him out of his surroundings and all the rest of it. And I thought, like hell. So we went on a world trip because I thought if he's going to lose his mind, he might as well you know, enjoy it now while we can. And he was fine. I mean, he did fall in Trinidad, he fell, but we had relatives all around us and he was okay. It was very hard, a trip for me to manage, but we did it. And so I continued to take him on trips. We went to Fiji, we went to Japan, we went to various things because he loved to travel before. He's an engineer and he really did travel a lot. After that, when I nearly blew all our savings, I was trained as a social worker. So I said, okay, we will do puzzles. We did puzzles together. We went out together. We went to the club. I was never a club person, but I started going and meeting other people, and he was talking to them and learning Chinese. Would you believe? You know, it was just interesting to see how he blossomed out of this. But like everything else, the dementia got worse, and then he was diagnosed. Of course, I changed the gerontologist after that event. I saw him a couple of times, and like Jane said, I wasn't very happy with this guy at all. So we went to see another professor, and we just traveled the road doing things. He put him on Aricept, and that seemed to help him a good deal of time. Then he started to have hallucinations. People were coming in through the roof. We had to have bolts all on the doors. Exactly like what Bobby said, you know? And so the doctor had put him on Risperdal, which is an antipsychotic drug. And I was very hesitant, but I thought, oh my God, I can't stand this, you know? He started to develop Parkinson's disease as a result. So I stopped it. And then I told him, and he said, told the doctor, and he said, yes, it does. One of the side effects, it could be Parkinson. It does cause Parkinson. So I thought I'd rather have the delusions than have him shaking everywhere, you know? Anyway, he continues the road now to the point where now he doesn't remember where the toilet is. He asked where I was the other day. Where's Anne-Marie? What happened to her? He often asks for his mother, who died many years ago, and his dad. I wonder how mom is. Oh, I must go and see mom, you know? And I make a joke of it. And I said, well, you can go, but I won't go with you. And you have to have a sense of humor. When he asks, where's Anne-Marie? Where's she? What's happened to her? And I go, oh, I don't know. Where's she gone to? You know, he's laughing because he's listening to me at the moment. But you have to have a sense of humor, and you have to engage them and give them their pride, hold the pride. He dresses nicely, as Amanda knows. Through your side, we were able to do so many wonderful things. She got him the exercise bike that we talked about. And that's made such a big difference to our life, you know. He's engaged in things as much as he can, He no longer can do puzzles, and it is deteriorating. The doctor suggested 1.5 Aricept, but the cardiologist told me it won't make any difference. He's at the point now where he's got stenosis of the aortic valve. And he's just breathing like Darth Vader, you know. So I have to look after myself. I too had a triple bypass last year because I never thought I had a heart problem. I worked myself to the bone. And as what Bobby said and other people have said, you've got to look after yourself. Because as a social worker, we tend to look after others. I look after everybody else except myself, but you have to look after yourself. And that lady who was asking before, she has to make sure as a carer, not to do as I say, but don't do as I do, or whatever, vice versa. You gotta take time to breathe. So I go to the hairdresser, which doesn't look like that now. I go to the hairdresser once a fortnight. I close my eyes. They know the situation. And I just say, do whatever. Cut it short. Because you gotta take that time for yourself, you know, to gather your strength in order to help the other person. And my husband is a very happy man. He gets everything done for him. He's very contented. And quite recently we did an interview with your side, and he kept saying, this is a great country. You have to learn to drive, blah, 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 because he used to drive everywhere. So the hardest thing for him was to give up the car keys. He's not allowed to drive. He nearly killed a man, my God. Anyway, there was a stop sign and he kept accelerating and I had to pull the handbrakes up. It was dreadful. And from that on, no way, Jose, was he allowed to drive after that. But that was the greatest loss to him. And he still gets up in the night and goes, "Oh, have I put the car in?" You know, all flustered. And I said, "Yes, the car's in, but you don't have a car." "I don't?" And I said, "It's all right, go back to sleep. It's all right, everything's fine." You know, you just reassure them, and you try to give them as much dignity and pride in themselves, and carry on and laugh at things, you know, and enjoy life every day. And it's been really hard since we've had this COVID thing, because we're not going out at all because of his health and my health. So we see people very infrequently, and that's very sad. But what can you do? You know, you have to find things every day to do, you know? And yeah, you just get on with it and appreciate nature and life and everything else. You gotta live every day, you know?
Absolutely.
And I must say that this Your Side organization, I love every member of this organization. I've known them for many years, and I waited to go onto the package when they came on board. And Amanda's been absolutely wonderful, and she knows that. I can't praise her enough, and Boana and others. So thank you for listening to me. But try puzzles, try pictures, you know, the photo albums, and go along with them. You know, if they've lost their handbag, just say, "Okay, let's go and find it." Don't argue. So worst thing you could do is argue with someone with dementia. You just say, "Okay, you know, that's all right, we'll help you look for it." I think I learned that in social work. I was only doing a small placement once, and we had a lady who had the dementia, and they said that you always help her, don't argue with her. So I followed that with my husband, and it seems to be okay. Otherwise he gets very angry, you know, it's an assault to them. "What do you think?" You know. So you have to give them you have to allow that space, because they're still humans. I mean, and they were intelligent people and could do lots of things in their youth and you've got to recognize that. They may act like children, where you've got to do things for them in the latter stages, but there's still a human being in there, you know, a very proud human being, you know. That's what I've recognized, and that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. We've just got people praising your side today. So that was not planned, but it's a lovely side effect, let me tell you. Now we have one last question, and we are running just slightly over time. So I'm going to check the panel, and everyone's got, I'd like everyone in the panel to maybe just chuck in a little 2-second contribution around, I think it was another question from Melissa, different ways to manage different types of dementia. So maybe some strategies might be a way to go. Bobby, your turn first, go.
Okay, forget the diagnosis, forget what type of dementia it is, work with the person, be person-centered. Person-centered means you know the person that's living there with dementia, work with them, not with the type of dementia, because we're all different.
Great advice. Okay, Ron.
Okay, one case that happened there with Lydia was that the doctor said, "Get her to the emergency fast." This was when I explained to him about the hallucinations. So I said to her, I could hear her talking in the next room to somebody. I said, "Right, doctor said we've got to go now." So she said, "Well, what do I do with the people that are sitting here waiting?" I said, "Well, what are they waiting for?" She said, "They're waiting to see somebody or other." And she said, "And I promised them a cup of tea." So I said, "Well, that's okay. Just tell them there's milk in the fridge, there's water in the kettle, bring it to the boil, make themselves a cup of tea. We'll be back later, and let's go." And I had to take her out.
That's brilliant. Quick and sharp solutions. Amanda, any ideas?
Yeah, I guess just trying to do as much as what they still like doing. And you know, a lot of my clients, if they get very confused around the home, people can pop up little post-it notes or little labels of where things are, and just try to keep it more of a routine so they don't feel, you know, lost and confused in their home.
That's great. And Ilsa, last one.
Fine. Yes. Look, I would agree with Bobby. Person-centered, absolutely. Whatever the person enjoys, do those things. But also just very, very generally, anything that you can do to keep your body healthy will also help to keep your brain healthy. So keep your brain active by, you know, crossword puzzles or whatever it is that they enjoy. Keep staying social as best as you can. Use technology if you need to be social distancing. Keep a healthy diet. Try and do some exercise wherever you can. Get plenty of sleep. Avoid alcohol as much as you can. But yeah, healthy body, healthy brain.
It's a really good strategy. Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know about anyone else, but that was an amazing afternoon, and I'm so incredibly grateful. I had Ron come all the way to our office in Chatswood, so he braved all the exciting parking lots around here, and he survived, so that's the main thing. Bobby, thank you so much for dialing in from the Central Coast. Your contribution is just beautiful, and it's lovely to speak to someone that's actually just going through it, and just the real life approach that, yeah, life is to be lived. And Amanda and Ilsa, my beautiful colleagues, thank you so much for your contribution and constant support anyway. But for anyone that has not joined our Community Circle Facebook group, please do so. It's open to anyone. I send out newsletters if you're interested. We're doing another education next month. We're actually going to be looking at the Royal Commission into Disability and Aged Care, so I'm going to get some speakers for that. And actually, I can't let her get away with it. Snow's online, so can I have a quick, Snow, can you quickly chuck Snow's camera online? I was going to ask her to say hi, and I realise I've only just remembered at this time. I'm sorry. Snow was our original coordinator for Community Circle, everyone, and I did ask her to come along today. So, Snow, hopefully we can turn your camera on. Are you still there?
She's on her way.
Gone to make a cup of tea.
There she is. There she is.
Hi, Snow.
Hey, I got kicked out, but hi everyone.
Did you enjoy that, Snow?
And I think today is a wonderful talk, and it's just always good to listen to the people's story. And I think that's what Community Circle is about. It's about bringing the community together, whether you're a service provider, you're a carer, you're the one that's experiencing, you know, health issues, but we all share the same goal. So I think conversation like today is just wonderful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we've got people dropping off, so it must be time to get everyone sorted for doing dinner time and things. So I'll let everyone go. Thank you again so much, everyone, for attending. We really appreciate it. And if anyone, like I said, if anyone did speak today, it's going to go up on social media. If you've got any problems, just let us know. But if not, we'll see you next month. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.